Welcome back, Lincoln Currency. Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going deep, slow, and nerdy on a coin that most people toss into tip jars and couch cushions without a second thought, the 1973 Lincoln cent. I'm going to walk you through everything: what it looks like, what it weighs, what it's made of, the meaning behind the design, how the US Mint made so many of them, why collectors still care, what rare errors and varieties exist, how much any given 1973 penny is actually worth on the market, and why the headline-grabbing idea that a single 1973 penny could be worth tens of millions, even an $81 million rumor you may have seen, doesn't line up with the public auction record. I'll tell stories, give practical tips for spotting interesting examples, and explain how grading, condition, and errors change value. So whether you're a total beginner or someone who keeps coins and rolls, there's something here for you. First, the basics. The 1973 Lincoln cent belongs to the Lincoln Memorial Reverse Series, the design that ran from 1959 through 2008. The obverse shows Abraham Lincoln in profile, Victor David Brenner's portrait, refined over time, and the reverse, introduced in 1959 to mark Lincoln's 150th birthday, shows the Lincoln Memorial carved in microscopic detail by Frank Gasparo. The coin's diameter is 19.00 millimeters, and the weight for circulation strikes in this era is 3.11 grams. It's a small bronze disc, composed of approximately 95% copper and 5% zinc, sometimes written as 95% copper, 5% tin and zinc in older references, which gives a fresh, uncirculated penny its warm reddish-brown color. These are standard physical specs every collector learns first because they're the foundation for identifying altered or counterfeit pieces. PCGS +1 next, mintage and survival. In 1973, the U.S. Mint produced billions of Lincoln cents. The Philadelphia Main Strike issue, no mint mark, alone had a mintage in the billions, and even the Denver and San Francisco facilities produced large numbers. To put it plainly, there are a lot of 1973 pennies out there. The massive mintage means that for most practical purposes, a random circulated 1973 cent is worth face value, 1 cent, unless it's in exceptional condition or has something unusual about it. That scale of production is crucial to understand because rarity underpins value. Billions minted equals common. PCGS +1. So what does exceptional condition mean? Enter mint state grading. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with MS, mint state, grades starting at MS 60 and up. For modern copper cents such as 1973, the top-end red RD surfaces in MS 67 or higher are rare and collectible. Auction records show that a high-grade 1973 Lincoln cent, something like a PCGS MS 67 plus RD, has sold in the low thousands at auction. A 1973 and MS 67 plus RD sold for about $3,960 in 2022. That might sound like a lot compared with a penny's face value, but it's a far cry from the multi-million-dollar claims you sometimes see in sensational headlines or viral videos. If you're excited because you found a shiny near-perfect 1973, congratulations, it might be worth more than face, and grading could pin down a numerical market price. But it's not plausible, based on public records, that a standard 1973 Lincoln cent has ever sold for even 6 figures in an open auction. PCGS +1. Now let's talk about varieties and errors, because that's where the real treasure hunt thrill lies. Most 1973 cents are regular strikes and unremarkable. But collectors watch for certain categories: proof strikes, mint-marked Denver or San Francisco coins, off-center strikes, die cracks, die clashes, lamination errors, and any form of double striking or double die obverse or reverse. In modern coins, many of these errors are collectible if they're dramatic enough and if they've been authenticated and graded by a reputable third party. Example: lamination errors, where a planchet's surface peels or flakes during striking, can yield pieces that draw attention on marketplaces. Off-center strikes with a big uncancelled field are visually striking and can fetch higher prices. And true doubled dies, where the die itself was doubled during hubbing and leaves doubled lettering or numbers, remain famous when they occur, though classic, High-value doubled dies are usually older, mid-century and earlier, rather than common modern dates like 1973. You can find examples of era 1973 pennies offered by sellers, but prices vary wildly depending on the severity and the buyer's taste. eBay +1. Let's put the fiction-busting hat on for a minute. Over the years, the internet has churned out dramatic claims. This penny is worth millions! Sometimes tied to a random photo or a blurred video clip. One specific figure you mentioned, $81 million for a 1973 penny, has no support in reputable auction records or numismatic publications. The authoritative auction and population data show the highest verified sale records for 1973 Lincoln cents at under $5,000, and most certified high-grade sales are in the low hundreds to a few thousand depending on grade and designation. Sensational claims often conflate different stories. For example, the famous 1943 bronze wartime-era pennies which have sold for hundreds of thousands, and then attached a large number to a far more common date. Always check auction houses, PCGS, NGC, and Heritage for real sale results before assuming a headline number is real. In short, there's no public documentation that a 1973 penny has sold for anything approaching $81 million. If someone asserts such a sale, demand the invoice, the auction house, the lot number, and the buyer's identity. Those are the breadcrumbs that separate folklore from fact. PCGS +1. To begin with, it's important to understand the minting process itself because knowing how a Lincoln cent is born helps you recognize why and how errors happen. The U.S. Mint uses an intricate series of steps to turn raw metal into coins. First, strips of bronze alloy are rolled and punched into blank discs called planchets. These planchets are then cleaned, annealed, heated to soften the metal, and prepared for striking. During the striking process, two dies, one for the obverse, front, and one for the reverse, back, slam together with immense pressure, impressing the design into the metal. After striking, coins are ejected, inspected, and counted before being bagged and shipped to banks. At every stage of this journey, there's a chance for something to go wrong, and those mistakes can become prized mint errors. One of the most sought after error types for the 1973 cent, and indeed for any Lincoln cent, is the doubled die. A double die occurs not because of a double strike but because the die itself was engraved twice slightly out of alignment during the hubbing process. This results in doubled images on the coin, often seen most clearly on the date, lettering, or mottos. While famous doubled die cents like the 1955 and 1969 S are well known for their dramatic doubling, even subtle doubled dies can command premiums if verified by a grading service. Although no ultra-famous doubled die varieties are widely recognized for the 1973 cent, collectors still check their coins closely for any signs of doubling, because new discoveries can always surface and create demand. Another class of errors to be aware of is off-center strikes. If the planchet is not properly seated in the coining chamber, the dies will strike off-center, leaving a partial design and a blank crescent of unstruck metal. The more off-center the strike, and the more design details visible, the more valuable the coin typically is. Minor off-centers, like those under 5%, may only bring a small premium, but dramatic ones with 50% or more off-center, especially with a visible date and mint mark, can be worth hundreds of dollars. Off-center 1973 cents have appeared on the market before, and collectors often pay attention to them because they're visually striking and easy to identify even without magnification. Die cracks and die breaks are another error class that add personality and collectability. Over time, repeated striking weakens the dies, causing cracks that transfer to the coin's surface as raised lines. A small die crack might not add much value, but dramatic ones, like cuds, where a piece of the die breaks off and leaves a blob-like void on the coin, can be more valuable and are sought after by specialists. Die clashes, where the dies strike each other without a planchet between them and transfer elements of the opposing design, are another fascinating error. On a clashed 1973 cent, you might see faint outlines of Lincoln's bust on the reverse or traces of the Lincoln Memorial on the obverse, a ghostly reminder of a mint mishap. Then there are planchet errors, which occur before the coin is even struck. A classic example is the wrong planchet error, where a cent is accidentally struck on a planchet meant for a foreign coin or a different U.S. denomination. While rare, wrong planchet Lincoln cents have surfaced from various years, including instances of cents struck on dime planchets, or even foreign copper pieces. These errors can be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars depending on their rarity and condition. There's no widely reported 1973 cent struck on a wrong planchet that has broken price records, but collectors remain on the lookout because discoveries like that can change the value landscape overnight. Surface anomalies like laminations and clipped planchets are also worth discussing. A lamination error occurs when impurities in the metal cause layers to peel or flake, leaving irregular patches on the coin's surface. While minor laminations might only add a small premium, dramatic ones are eye-catching and collectible. Clipped planchets, on the other hand, happen when the blanking punch overlaps the edge of the metal strip, creating coins with a curve bite missing. These are relatively common but still fun to collect, and their value depends on size, visibility, and whether the clip affects important design elements like the date or motto. At this point, you might be wondering, how do you tell if an error is authentic or post-mint damage? That's a critical skill every collector must learn. Post-mint damage, or PMD, happens after the coin leaves the mint, from circulation wear, environmental exposure, or deliberate alteration, and generally does not add value. Scratches, gouges, flattened areas, and most discolorations fall into this category. Authentic mint errors, on the other hand, are part of the manufacturing process. They often show specific characteristics, like sharp edges on off-center blanks, raised metal from die cracks, or smooth, original luster across the surface. Studying genuine error examples and comparing them side by side with damaged coins is one of the best ways to train your eye. Next, let's talk about population reports and how they affect value. Population data from grading services like PCGS and NGC provide insight into how many coins exist in a given grade. For the 1973 cent, the numbers tell a clear story. There are thousands of coins graded in the MS65, MS66 range, but only a small handful in MS67 or higher. This scarcity at the top end is what drives auction prices. A coin that might be worth $10 in MS65 could be worth $500 or more in MS67 simply because so few exist. That's why careful searching and submission to a grading service can sometimes turn a modest find into a valuable one. When most people think of coin value, they imagine a fixed number, a price tag that's printed in a guide or shown in a YouTube thumbnail. But coin prices are anything but static. They're dynamic, shaped by supply, demand, collector trends, historical events, and even larger economic conditions. This is particularly true for common dates like 1973, where billions were minted and most coins remain in circulation. The challenge for collectors, and the opportunity, is to identify which factors elevate certain examples above the sea of ordinary coins. Understanding these forces can mean the difference between selling a coin for a few cents and realizing hundreds, or even thousands of dollars in profit. Auction data is one of the best windows into this reality. Unlike online listings, which are often inflated or speculative, auction results represent actual sales, real money changing hands. Over the past few decades, dozens of 1973 Lincoln cents have appeared at major auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, and Great Collections. Most of these coins are high-grade mint state examples certified by PCGS or NGC, and the price ranges reflect just how condition-sensitive this date is. An MS65 red might bring $20 to $40. Step up to MS66 red and you might see prices around $100 to $250. A true MS67 red, which is very rare, could push into the high hundreds or low thousands. In a few documented cases, MS67 plus red coins have broken the $3,000 to $4,000 mark. These numbers are impressive when you consider the face value is a single cent, but they're still a long way from the sensational millions sometimes claimed online. Why does a 1-point difference in grade make such a big difference in price? The answer lies in population rarity. If PCGS has graded, say, 1,200 examples of the 1973 cent in MS66 red but only 40 in MS67 red, the price for that top grade will skyrocket. Collectors building registry sets, competitive collections ranked by average grade, are willing to pay significant premiums for those tiny population numbers. In that context, The 1973 cents value is less about the coin itself and more about its position within the broader population landscape. This is why some collectors focus entirely on condition rarities rather than varieties or errors. They know that high-grade populations drive price performance over the long term. Let's talk about grading strategy because it's central to extracting maximum value from a 1973 penny. Submitting coins for grading costs money, usually between $30 and $60 per coin, sometimes more if you add variety attribution or expedited service. It's not worth grading a coin worth $5. But if you think your coin could hit MS66 or MS67, then the math changes. Before submitting, examine the coin under a 5x to 10x loupe and look for key indicators: strong luster, minimal contact marks, full original red color, and sharp strike details. Pay special attention to high points like Lincoln's cheek and jawline and the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. Even tiny nicks or spots can knock a grade down, so condition is everything. If you're unsure, consider sending your coin to a dealer or expert for a pre-screen. Many professionals will give you a rough grade estimate before you pay grading fees. Third-party grading isn't just about a number on a label, it's about trust. Certified coins are far easier to sell, especially at higher price points, because buyers know they're getting an authentic, accurately graded coin. This trust factor is essential in a market flooded with raw coins, altered coins, and even counterfeits. Although counterfeiting is more common with rare dates, high-grade modern cents have occasionally been manipulated, especially with artificial color enhancement or chemical cleaning. A certified 1973 MS67 red from PCGS or NGC instantly removes much of that uncertainty. Now, let's shift gears and look at some of the most interesting auction stories involving the 1973 cent. One memorable example involved a spectacular MS67 Plus red that sold for just under $4,000 in a 2022 Heritage auction. It was remarkable not only for its grade but for its near-perfect color and blazing original luster, features that are rare to find even in uncirculated rolls. Another case involved a dramatic off-center error, nearly 70% off with a fully visible date, which brought over $600. While those numbers might not rival the 6- or 7-figure prices of ultra-rare coins, they highlight how condition and errors can still yield serious premiums on an otherwise common date. It's worth emphasizing that the 1973 cents market is not just about U.S. collectors. Lincoln cents are collected worldwide, and international interest sometimes affects demand, especially for top-graded or unusual specimens. Global exposure via online auctions has opened up new buyer pools from Europe, Asia, and South America. This means that coins once considered niche collectibles now reach far larger audiences, and larger audiences often translate to higher prices. If you're selling, considering an auction with international reach might be a smarter choice than a local coin show or online marketplace limited to domestic buyers. We should also talk about how external factors, like the price of copper, can subtly influence penny collecting. Each pre-1982 Lincoln cent contains about 2.95 grams of copper, and while it's illegal to melt U.S. coins for their metal, fluctuations in copper prices sometimes spark renewed interest in older cents. When copper prices rise significantly, collectors and hoarders become more active, pulling older coins from circulation. This increased demand can have a ripple effect, boosting prices for higher-grade coins as well. Though the effect is minor compared with rarity and condition, it's another piece of the larger economic puzzle. Collector psychology is another powerful force. Many buyers are not just purchasing a coin, they're buying a story, a connection to history, or a sense of nostalgia. The 1973 cent evokes a specific moment in American history: the early 1970s, the Vietnam War era, Watergate, the oil crisis, and shifting cultural landscapes. Coins minted during that time are tiny artifacts of those broader events. That emotional resonance can increase demand, particularly for collectors who grew up in that era or who want to assemble a birth year set. It's a reminder that value is not always purely financial. Sentiment and personal meaning often shape the market just as much as rarity and grade. Now let's tackle one of the most pervasive myths head-on: The claim that a 1973 penny sold or could sell for $81 million. As we've discussed, there's no evidence whatsoever of such a sale. Major auction houses, grading services, and numismatic databases contain no record of a 1973 Lincoln cent even approaching 5 figures, let alone millions. So where does the myth come from? It's usually a combination of misinformation, confusion with other rare coins, like the 1943 bronze or the 1974 aluminum cent prototypes, and viral clickbait designed to attract views. Unfortunately, these myths can mislead new collectors into thinking they're sitting on a fortune, when in reality their coin is worth a few cents. The takeaway: always verify claims with reputable sources before believing sensational valuations. That said, it's still possible for the unexpected to happen. Numismatics is full of surprises, unknown die varieties discovered decades later, new errors surfacing in unlikely places, and coins once thought common turning out to be rare under specific conditions. The key is to approach every coin with curiosity and skepticism. Document your findings, consult experts, and most importantly, enjoy the process. Even if your 1973 penny doesn't make you a millionaire, the knowledge and satisfaction you gain from the hunt are rewards in their own right. We also need to talk about how the digital era has transformed the coin market. 20 years ago, buying or selling a rare coin usually meant attending a coin show, bidding in a physical auction, or working through a dealer network. Today, platforms like eBay, Great Collections, Heritage Live, and social media marketplaces make it possible to buy and sell coins with the click of a button. This democratizes. To begin, one of the most important skills for any collector is authentication. With a coin as common as the 1973 Lincoln cent, the vast majority of specimens are genuine and require no question. However, when a coin appears unusually pristine, unusually thick or light, or has strange coloration, authentication becomes critical. Counterfeit coins are rare in modern sense but not non-existent, especially when someone is attempting to pass off altered or enhanced coins as rare high-grade specimens. Common signs of a problem include unnatural coloration, surface abrasions from redipping, or artificially induced toning. Collectors are advised to always start with visual inspection under a 10x loupe, then consult reputable grading services like PCGS or NGC for confirmation before any significant investment. Using ultraviolet light and magnification can reveal surface inconsistencies and polishing patterns indicative of tampering. Die varieties are another advanced topic that separates casual collectors from dedicated numismatists. In the 1973 Lincoln cent, specialists pay attention to die states, subtle changes to the die over its production run. Dies can develop small cracks, chips, or signs of wear, and coins struck from different stages of the die can exhibit minute variations in letter spacing, relief height, or strike depth. These are cataloged meticulously by error collectors and variety enthusiasts. Some high-grade collectors track die states closely, seeking a complete set of known varieties for a single date. While none of the 1973 varieties are widely famous on the scale of the 1955 double die, new discoveries occasionally surface in estates or bank rolls, providing fresh excitement for collectors. Strike quality is another factor affecting both grade and appeal. Coins struck with full pressure exhibit sharp details on Lincoln's bust, the date, and the steps of the memorial. Weak strikes, where these features appear flat or soft, are less desirable and generally receive lower grades. Conversely, exceptionally well-struck 1973 cents with deep relief and clean lines are prized, particularly when combined with original red luster. A collector who understands strike quality can often anticipate which coins will grade higher and therefore command premiums in the marketplace. Alterations are a constant concern in modern coin collecting. Cleaning, polishing, or chemically altering a coin can drastically reduce its value, especially if it's certified as high-grade. Even seemingly minor scratches or hairline marks from buffing can downgrade a coin by several points in the grading scale, turning a potentially high-value specimen into a commodity. One of the most common mistakes new collectors make is attempting to restore a dull or discolored 1973 cent, thinking it will increase value. In reality, original surfaces, even with minor imperfections, are almost always more valuable than cleaned or altered coins. Economic factors also play a subtle but meaningful role in the coin market. Inflation, metal prices, and minting policy all impact collector behavior and long-term demand. For instance, as the U.S. Mint shifted from copper cents to zinc-plated coins in 1982, older copper cents like the 1973 became more sought after simply because they are no longer being produced in that composition. Rising copper prices can increase interest in these coins, not because melting is legal or profitable, but because collectors recognize scarcity and intrinsic metal content as part of historical value. Likewise, macroeconomic trends affect discretionary income and the willingness of collectors to bid on high-grade or rare coins. Another critical aspect is provenance and collection history. Coins from famous collections or well-documented hoards often command a premium. A 1973 cent that comes with a verified origin from an early 1970s bankroll, a numismatic estate, or a notable collection can attract both historical interest and higher bids at auction. Collectors often track provenance meticulously, documenting where and how a coin was acquired, its previous ownership, and any grading history. This narrative adds depth and perceived legitimacy, enhancing the coin's market appeal. Case studies of famous Lincoln cent collections reveal how strategy and patience can transform a modest coin into a valuable asset. For example, top registry sets often combine high-grade business strikes, proof coins, and carefully verified error coins to create a complete picture of a particular year. Collectors invest years into sourcing the best examples, paying attention not just to grade but also to strike quality, color, toning, and die state. Some collectors even specialize exclusively in 1973 pennies, aiming to assemble the finest set possible. Their meticulous approach demonstrates the interplay of knowledge, patience, and market timing in maximizing value. Online marketplaces and auction platforms have reshaped the way coins are bought and sold. Platforms like Heritage Live, Great Collections, and eBay allow coins to reach global audiences, dramatically increasing exposure and potential competition. However, they also create a landscape where exaggerated claims, "buy it now," prices, and incomplete information abound. Experienced collectors learn to differentiate between listings, realized prices, and genuine market trends. Observing completed sales rather than asking prices provides insight into the real value of a 1973 cent and prevents misjudgment based on hype or viral videos. We should also consider error coins in more depth, as they are often the source of elevated value. For 1973 cents, known error types include off-center strikes, die cracks, die clashes, and lamination flaws. The value of these errors depends on their severity, visibility, and documentation. A mild die crack may add only a few dollars to a coin's value, while a dramatic off-center strike with a fully visible date and mint mark can attract hundreds or more. Collectors who specialize in errors often study detailed photographs, population reports, and auction results to identify trends and determine rarity. Toning and color remain essential factors for modern copper coins. While the ideal collector coin retains original red luster, naturally developed patinas and subtle rainbow toning can enhance a coin's visual appeal and value. Artificial toning or chemical alterations are discouraged and often negatively affect grade. Collectors learn to differentiate between naturally occurring toning, which develops slowly over decades, and artificially induced color, which may appear uniform, glossy, or unnatural. Finally, building a strategy for 1973 cents involves a balance of condition, provenance, error awareness, and patience. A beginner might focus on accumulating uncirculated red coins, while an advanced collector seeks high-grade proofs, documented errors, and coins from verified estates or hoards. Documentation, proper storage, and careful submission for grading are key components of success. Over time, a well-curated 1973 collection not only retains its value but can grow as a historical archive, reflecting the intersection of production, minting anomalies, and collector culture in American coinage. Understanding population reports is fundamental for any serious coin collector. Grading services like PCGS and NGC track exactly how many coins have been graded at each level for every date and mint mark. For the 1973 Lincoln cent, population data provides insight into scarcity and desirability. For instance, the MS-65 red population is relatively high, meaning these coins are readily available and command modest premiums. MS-66 red coins are far scarcer, and MS-67 red coins are exceedingly rare. Sometimes fewer than 50 certified examples exist across all mint marks. Population reports are crucial because they allow collectors to understand supply, set realistic expectations for market prices, and identify areas where scarcity can generate meaningful value. This data also informs registry set builders, who strive to acquire the highest quality coins for each category to maximize their ranking and appeal. Registry sets are an advanced aspect of coin collecting where enthusiasts compete to assemble the best possible collection for a given year, series, or type. For the 1973 Lincoln cent, a registry collector might aim to include an MS-67 red from Philadelphia, a near-perfect Denver strike, approved from San Francisco, and select era coins with verified documentation. Registry points are awarded based on grade, rarity, and completeness of the collection, which drives competition and can even affect auction demand. Coins that fit into highly ranked registry sets often command higher prices because collectors are willing to pay a premium to maintain or improve their standings. Error classification is another sophisticated tool for collectors. The 1973 cent exhibits a range of potential mint errors, and knowing how to classify them accurately is essential. Standard categories include off-center strikes, die cracks, die clashes, double dies, clipped planchets, and lamination errors. Within each category, severity matters. For example, a minor off-center strike of 5% is largely cosmetic, whereas a 50% off-center strike with a fully visible date and mint mark can command hundreds of dollars. Die cracks are classified by size and location, with larger cracks or cud formations being more desirable. Lamination errors are assessed by the amount of metal flaking and visual appeal. Collectors often maintain personal catalogs of observed errors to track trends, compare examples, and refine acquisition strategies. Auction lot analysis provides insight into how the 1973 cent performs under competitive conditions. An auction lot listing typically includes photographs, description, grade, certification, provenance, and estimated price. Successful buyers examine every detail, comparing images to population reports and known die varieties. They assess strike quality, surface preservation, luster, color, and any anomalies. Auctions also reveal pricing trends. Low-grade coins sell at modest premiums, while rare, high-grade, or error specimens can exceed expectations. Experienced collectors study past results to forecast likely outcomes for future sales, calibrate bids, and identify undervalued coins. Interpreting grading reports is equally critical. Every certified 1973 cent receives a grade from MS-60 to MS-70 if uncirculated, and designation letters like RD, red, RB, red-brown, or BN, brown, indicate color and surface condition. MS-67 red is exceptionally rare for this date, and an MS-68 red, if authenticated, would be considered extraordinary. Beyond the numeric grade, grading reports often include comments on unusual features, strike quality, or detected flaws. Understanding these nuances allows collectors to evaluate coins accurately, set realistic bid ranges, and avoid overpaying for minor imperfections. Collector psychology shapes the market as much as scarcity or condition. Even with population data and grading, perceived rarity and emotional attachment influence willingness to pay. Coins associated with memorable finds, unusual errors, or visually stunning toning often sell for premiums beyond what pure population statistics would suggest. The emotional impact of a coin, its story, aesthetic appeal, and historical resonance, frequently drives buying decisions. This is why sensationalized claims, even unfounded ones like the $81 million 1973 penny myth, can capture attention. Savvy collectors separate hype from reality while appreciating the psychological factors at play in the market. Case studies from renowned collections illustrate these principles in action. Consider a 1973 MS-67 red from a well-documented hoard that sold for just under $4,000. Its value stemmed from extreme scarcity, original luster, flawless strike, and registry set desirability. Another example involved the 1973 off-center strike, where visual appeal and documentation drove a sale of several $100s. Both cases highlight the interplay of grade, rarity, condition, and market demand. Collectors learn that success relies on a combination of meticulous observation, strategic acquisition, and informed bidding rather than luck alone. Storage and preservation practices also play a role in long-term value. High-grade 1973 cents must be stored in inert holders, away from light, moisture, and temperature fluctuations. Even minor environmental exposure can induce toning, discoloration, or surface damage, reducing both aesthetic appeal and monetary value. Collectors who maintain proper storage maximize their coins' longevity, protect investment potential, and ensure future marketability. Finally, understanding economic and historical context adds another layer of sophistication. The 1973 cent circulated during a period of significant social, political, and economic change in the United States. Inflation, energy crises, and cultural shifts all shaped the coin's environment. Collectors appreciate that each 1973 cent carries a piece of that era's story. Recognizing historical context enhances both appreciation and market value because collectors often seek coins that resonate with broader narratives. One of the most exciting aspects of collecting 1973 Lincoln cents is the occasional discovery of rare or unusual examples that stand out from the millions of ordinary coins produced. Estate discoveries are a prime source of such coins. Imagine a collector or family member who meticulously saved rolls of coins from the early 1970s and stored them in protective envelopes or jars for decades, untouched. When these coins are eventually brought to light, They often include uncirculated, brilliantly preserved examples or coins with subtle errors that escaped public attention. These coins frequently attract the attention of serious collectors and can command premiums far above typical market prices, particularly when they are certified and documented. Notable hoards have similarly shaped collector perception. For instance, there have been reports of entire bankroll collections of 1973 cents discovered in old safety deposit boxes or among retired collectors' archives. While most of these coins are unremarkable, high-grade examples, particularly MS-66 red or MS-67 red, can be dispersed to collectors willing to pay a premium. The hoard phenomenon demonstrates the importance of provenance. Coins with verified origin stories often carry additional perceived value because buyers trust their authenticity and appreciate the historical narrative. Unique era coins are another area where the 1973 cent can become exceptional. While no error from 1973 has approached the extreme rarity of older Lincoln cent errors like the 1909 SVDB or the 1955 double die, interesting pieces do exist. Dramatic off-center strikes, severe die cracks, die clashes, and lamination flaws are all observed within the population. These coins are particularly valuable when they are documented, photographed in high quality, and submitted for grading. Market data shows that buyers are willing to pay a substantial premium for errors that are visually striking and uncommon, and that have third-party authentication to confirm their legitimacy. Presentation and documentation significantly affect market perception and realized value. Collectors and buyers place high importance on how a coin is presented, whether it's in a protective slab from PCGS or NGC, carefully stored in archival holders, or displayed in a registry set with thorough notes. High-quality photographs and detailed descriptions of grading, mint mark, strike quality, and any anomalies can elevate a coin's appeal. Similarly, keeping records of provenance, including any previous ownership or auction history, enhances buyer confidence and can influence auction results. Market perception is influenced not only by rarity and condition but by how a coin is framed within the broader collector community. For the 1973 cent, this includes recognition of exceptional high-grade examples, documented errors, and coins with appealing toning or luster. Auctions and online platforms often highlight these coins in ways that emphasize their unique features. Experienced collectors know that effectively presenting a coin's story, combining visuals, documentation, and historical context, can lead to higher realized prices than merely listing its grade and mint mark. Evaluating a 1973 cent's potential requires a combination of knowledge and careful observation. Start by inspecting the coin under proper lighting and magnification. Examine Lincoln's portrait and the Lincoln Memorial in detail, looking for any doubling, die cracks, or other anomalies. Verify the mint mark and condition of high points. Consider color, luster, and toning, noting whether it is original and naturally developed. Compare your coin to documented examples in grading service databases, auction archives, and reference materials. The goal is to identify any features that distinguish it from the millions of ordinary circulation strikes. Documentation extends beyond grading. A detailed cataloging of coins within a personal collection helps maintain organization and supports future sales or trades. Note date, mint mark, grade, color designation, observed anomalies, provenance, and any other relevant information. For coins that are particularly rare or exceptional, include photographs, reference citations, and notes from grading services. This meticulous record-keeping can significantly increase buyer confidence, especially in high-value transactions. For collectors aiming to maximize value, strategic acquisition is essential. Focus on acquiring coins that fill gaps in a set, elevate overall average grade, or represent notable error types. High-grade MS-66 or MS-67 red examples should be prioritized because of their scarcity relative to lower-grade coins. Documented errors, especially off-center strikes, die cracks, or dramatic lamination issues, should also be targeted for their collector appeal. Purchasing through reputable dealers, verified auction lots, and well-documented hoards reduces the risk of counterfeit or misrepresented coins and ensures that investments are sound, marketing and sales strategy also influence realized value. Coins submitted for auction should include high-resolution photographs, accurate descriptions, and detailed notes on condition, grading, and any unique features. Highlight provenance and documented hoard origins where possible. Auction timing can also matter. Coins sold during periods of heightened collector interest, economic stability, or numismatic events often realize higher prices. Similarly, presenting coins within registry sets or curated collections can enhance perception and attract serious buyers willing to pay premiums. Another consideration is rarity relative to other coins in the same year. While the 1973 Lincoln cent is generally common, certain subcategories, such as high-grade San Francisco proofs or coins with visually dramatic errors, are significantly rarer. Recognizing these subcategories helps collectors identify potential opportunities where demand may outpace supply. Even subtle distinctions, like die states or slightly stronger strikes, can influence collector interest and ultimately affect market pricing. Finally, one of the most important lessons from notable 1973 cent collections is patience. Many collectors have spent decades carefully curating coins, waiting for opportunities to acquire the best specimens at reasonable prices. The value of a collection is often cumulative, reflecting not just individual coin grades but the completeness, condition, and documentation of the set as a whole. A patient, methodical approach yields long-term rewards, particularly in a market where sensational claims may distract or mislead newcomers. Advanced error analysis is essential for distinguishing ordinary 1973 cents from coins that may carry a premium. While common errors like minor off-center strikes or lamination issues exist in modest numbers, it is the dramatic or rare errors that collectors prioritize. When evaluating a coin, one should examine die doubling carefully. Even subtle doubling on the date, mint mark, or lettering can indicate a previously unrecognized doubled die variety. Doubling may manifest as shadowed edges, overlapping lines, or a faint secondary image slightly offset from the primary design. While 1973 does not have any historically famous doubled die varieties widely recognized in mainstream guides, collectors are always on the lookout for new discoveries, because previously undocumented doubled dies can significantly increase value if verified by a grading service. Die states and micro-variations are another advanced focus. A die is not static. Over the course of minting thousands or millions of coins, it undergoes wear, minor damage, and sometimes even modification. Coins struck early in a die's life are generally sharper and may display more detail, whereas those struck later may show softness, die cracks, or other anomalies. Subtle variations in strike depth, high point definition, and even the placement of letters and numbers can indicate different die states. Knowledge of these differences allows advanced collectors to identify particularly attractive examples, track the production sequence, and sometimes document new subvarieties. Collectors who specialize in micro-variations often rely on magnification, high-resolution photography, and side-by-side comparison with certified coins. Comparative valuation with adjacent years is also informative. The 1973 cent sits in a transitional period of the Lincoln Memorial design era. By examining 1972 and 1974 cents, collectors can see differences in minting quality, strike consistency, and population numbers. For instance, while the 1972 D Lincoln cent is generally plentiful, its higher-grade MS-67 red examples are fewer than its 1973 counterpart. The 1974 D and 1974 S coins also demonstrate variations in strike quality and color retention, providing context for the relative desirability of 1973 coins. Understanding these comparative nuances helps collectors determine whether a specific 1973 coin represents the best opportunity to acquire a high-grade, visually appealing, or error-bearing specimen. Submission strategies for grading and authentication are crucial for maximizing potential value. Before submitting a 1973 cent, inspect it under proper lighting and magnification to ensure it is free of post-mint damage, cleaning, or polishing. Coins that retain original surfaces, full red luster, and sharp strike details are the best candidates. Consider the cost of grading relative to the coin's potential value. While low-grade MS-64 red coins may not justify professional grading fees, MS-66, MS-67, or proof coins with exceptional characteristics are prime candidates. Submitting multiple coins in a single batch can reduce per-coin fees, and expedited services can be beneficial if timing is critical for auction presentation or market opportunities. Population data is one of the most powerful tools a collector can leverage. For the 1973 cent, population reports revealed the scarcity of coins in high-grade tiers, as well as the distribution of error coins. For example, an MS-67 red from the Denver Mint is far rarer than an MS-65 red from Philadelphia. Access to population reports allows collectors to gauge supply and demand dynamics, set realistic expectations for pricing, and make informed decisions about which coins to acquire or sell. When combined with registry set data, population numbers also help strategize collection building for competitive purposes. Another layer of analysis involves auction lot history and realized prices. Tracking previous sales of 1973 cents, particularly in high grades or with errors, provides benchmarks for current market value. Coins that sold for $500 10 years ago may now fetch $800 or more due to scarcity, collector interest, and inflation. Auction analysis also highlights trends in buyer behavior. For instance, the premium buyers are willing to pay for original red coins over red-brown or brown designations, or for visually dramatic errors versus minor anomalies. A careful study of auction records allows collectors to anticipate market shifts and adjust acquisition strategies accordingly. Condition rarity is key. While the 1973 cent is common in circulated grades, high-grade uncirculated examples are scarce. MS-66 red coins are considered premium because only a few hundred exist across all mints. MS-67 red coins are exceptional, often fewer than 50 certified examples nationwide. Condition rarity drives pricing disproportionately compared to face value. Understanding this relationship helps collectors prioritize which coins to seek, which to submit for grading, and which to hold for long-term appreciation. Market psychology is intertwined with rarity, population, and error analysis. Collectors respond not just to documented scarcity but to visual impact, historical narrative, and peer recognition. A coin with sharp strike, vivid color, and verified provenance can evoke intense competition, even if its numerical rarity is moderate. Conversely, coins perceived as overvalued, poorly photographed, or insufficiently documented may underperform at auction. Savvy collectors cultivate an understanding of market sentiment and leverage it in both buying and selling decisions. Finally, presentation remains critical. Coins should be stored in archival quality holders, kept away from moisture and light, and handled minimally to prevent damage. High-resolution images should highlight key features, date, mint mark, strike quality, and any anomalies, to attract serious buyers. Clear documentation of provenance, era characteristics, and prior grading ensures transparency and builds buyer confidence. By combining technical analysis, grading strategy, population awareness, auction research, and careful presentation, collectors maximize both the aesthetic and financial potential of 1973 Lincoln cents. Building a complete 1973 Lincoln cent collection requires a multi-layered approach that balances condition, mint mark, color, errors, and provenance. At the most basic level, a collector aims to acquire at least one example from each mint: Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S, ensuring that each coin is representative of its mint's quality and condition. While a casual collector may stop there, advanced collectors pursue multiple specimens from each mint in ascending grades, seeking the finest possible examples for their collection. This approach provides flexibility for upgrading over time and allows the collector to build a competitive registry set if desired. Advanced registry set tactics involve a strategic selection of coins across grades, mint marks, and varieties. Collectors may prioritize high-grade MS-66 or MS-67 red coins from each mint to maximize points in registry competitions. Additionally, integrating rare error coins, such as off-center strikes, die cracks, or lamination flaws, can elevate a collection's uniqueness and appeal. For registry sets, documentation is crucial. Each coin must be certified and verified, ideally accompanied by high-quality photographs and any provenance information. This level of detail signals credibility to judges and collectors alike and enhances both registry ranking and market value. Incorporating proofs into a 1973 collection adds another dimension. Proof coins struck at the San Francisco Mint exhibit mirror-like surfaces and sharp detail, representing the pinnacle of minting quality for the year. While proof coins were widely sold in official proof sets, high-grade deep cameo or cameo contrast proofs are relatively scarce and highly desirable. Integrating proof coins alongside business strikes and error examples creates a well-rounded and historically complete 1973 set, appealing to both collectors and investors. Comparing the 1973 cent with adjacent years, such as 1972 and 1974, is a valuable strategy for determining relative rarity and quality. Collectors can observe subtle variations in strike consistency, die quality, and population figures. For example, the 1972 descent may have a larger population of high-grade coins, making top-grade 1973 D coins relatively scarcer and potentially more valuable in a collection context. Similarly, analyzing strike sharpness, color retention, and error frequency across years allows collectors to identify which coins offer the best combination of rarity, beauty, and investment potential. This comparative perspective ensures that the 1973 cent is evaluated in the broader framework of Lincoln Memorial cent collecting, rather than in isolation. A long-term acquisition plan is essential for building a cohesive 1973 cent collection. Start by establishing clear goals. Determine whether the focus is on business strikes, high-grade specimens, proofs, errors, or a combination of these categories. Next, research population reports and historical auction data to identify scarcity points and potential pricing trends. Prioritize coins that are both scarce and in high demand, such as MS66, MS67 red examples, or visually dramatic error coins. Gradually acquire coins over time, allowing for upgrades as higher grade or more desirable examples become available. Patience is critical. Rushing acquisitions can lead to overpaying or securing suboptimal examples that limit future improvement. Storage, preservation, and documentation are foundational to a long-term plan. High-grade coins should be stored in inert holders, protected from moisture, light, and temperature fluctuations. Keeping detailed records of purchase, grading, provenance, and any historical notes ensures that the collection maintains both credibility and potential resale value. These records are especially important if coins are later submitted to auctions, sold individually, or integrated into a registry set. Clear documentation also helps verify authenticity, particularly for error coins or unique varieties that may attract collector scrutiny. Monitoring market trends is another key component. Auction results, dealer offerings, and online marketplace sales reveal real-world demand for high-grade or error 1973 cents. Observing these trends allows collectors to time acquisitions or sales strategically, capitalizing on periods of high demand or scarcity. Engaging with numismatic communities, forums, and clubs provides additional insight, as seasoned collectors often share observations about grading anomalies, newly discovered errors, or emerging market interest. This combination of research, community engagement, and strategic acquisition ensures that a 1973 cent collection evolves intelligently over time. Error coin integration is a particularly effective way to enhance a collection's uniqueness and value. Even subtle die cracks, off-center strikes, or minor planchet issues add narrative depth and visual interest. Collectors should document error characteristics carefully, capturing photographs and detailed descriptions. Submitting error coins for certification can increase both market confidence and realized value, especially when errors are significant and visually appealing. Integrating errors alongside high-grade business strikes and proofs ensures that a 1973 cent collection is both comprehensive and distinctive. Another strategic element is comparative value assessment. By analyzing high-grade examples across different mints, collectors can identify which coins represent the best investment opportunities. For instance, a 1973 S proof in pristine condition may offer more scarcity value than a common 1973 P business strike, despite both coins being historically interesting. Evaluating coins relative to population reports, auction results, and known error occurrences ensures that acquisitions are both strategic and financially sound. Finally, a successful 1973 cent collection combines beauty, historical context, rarity, and careful planning. Each coin should be selected not only for its grade or error status but also for its contribution to the overall narrative of the collection. A well-curated set tells the story of 1973 Lincoln cent production, showcases minting anomalies, highlights exceptional craftsmanship, and preserves a piece of 1970s American history. By integrating business strikes, proofs, errors, and high-grade specimens from all three mints, collectors create a collection that is visually stunning, historically meaningful, and positioned for long-term value appreciation. Examining case studies of extraordinary 1973 Lincoln cent collections offers valuable insight into how top collectors approach acquisition, presentation, and long-term value. One notable collection involved a complete set of 1973 cents from Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, spanning uncirculated business strikes, proofs, and several verified error coins. The collector meticulously selected coins in MS66 red or higher for each mint mark, complemented by off-center strikes and minor die cracks that were visually appealing and properly documented. By integrating both high-grade and error coins, the collection demonstrated both completeness and rarity, elevating its market perception. When this collection appeared in a major auction, it realized prices significantly above average market expectations, illustrating how a carefully curated set can attract competitive bidding. Market performance of high-grade 1973 cents shows a consistent pattern. MS65 red coins trade at modest premiums. MS66 red coins command more attention. And MS67 red coins are exceptionally rare and highly sought after. The disparity in pricing is influenced heavily by population reports. For example, if PCGS reports only 40 MS67 red coins for a specific mint mark, buyers are willing to pay a substantial premium due to scarcity. Conversely, coins with larger populations, even if uncirculated, tend to see slower appreciation. These trends underscore the importance of using grading population data to guide both acquisition and sales strategy. Real-world error coin valuation provides another critical lens. Dramatic off-center strikes, substantial die cracks, or lamination errors can bring hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on severity and documentation. Minor errors, while interesting, typically only add modest premiums. For instance, an off-center 1973 Denver cent was 60% of the design visible sold in a 2021 online auction for over $500, whereas a minor 10% off-center strike might only fetch $25 to $50. Collectors benefit from studying auction records and population data to understand how different error types and severities affect realized value, helping them identify which coins are worth acquiring or submitting for grading. Upgrading collections over time is a strategy that separates serious collectors from casual enthusiasts. Start by acquiring solid examples in accessible grades, then gradually replace lower-grade coins with higher-grade specimens as they become available. Registry set builders often pursue this incremental approach, aiming to improve overall point scores while maintaining completeness. Incorporating higher-grade coins from all three mints, integrating visually dramatic error coins, and including proof specimens ensures that the collection not only increases in numerical value but also gains historical and visual significance. Patience is essential. The most valuable 1973 cent collections often require years or even decades of careful acquisition. Navigating online marketplaces and auctions is another critical component. Platforms such as Heritage Live, Great Collections, and eBay offer access to global buyers but also require discernment. Experienced collectors know to focus on completed sales rather than buy it now listings to determine true market value. They also look for high-resolution images, detailed descriptions, grading certifications, and provenance notes. Auction participation allows collectors to compete for high-grade coins, but it requires understanding bidding strategies, fees, and timing. Online sales also benefit from comparative research. Evaluating similar coins' population, error type, and auction history helps set realistic price expectations. Another key aspect is managing the balance between cost and potential appreciation. High-grade 1973 cents often require significant investment upfront. Submitting coins for grading can be costly, but the potential payoff for MS66, MS67 red examples or visually dramatic error coins justifies the expense. Collectors often budget for strategic grading submissions and may prioritize coins that show exceptional original surfaces, sharp strikes, and minimal post-mint damage. By combining careful selection, documentation, and professional grading, collectors can maximize both market value and the aesthetic appeal of their collection. Presentation and storytelling are equally important. Coins displayed in archival quality holders, accompanied by high-resolution photographs, grading certificates, and provenance information tend to attract higher bids. Buyers respond to well-curated collections that convey both historical context and collector diligence. Storytelling adds depth to the collection. For example, an MS-67 red 1973 Denver cent from a hoard discovered in a retired collector's estate carries not just technical value but also narrative interest. Including this information in auction listings or sales descriptions can enhance appeal and realized price. Finally, the 1973 Lincoln cent market demonstrates that success is a combination of knowledge, strategy, patience, and presentation. By studying population reports, grading trends, auction results, and error prevalence, collectors can make informed acquisition decisions. Integrating high-grade business strikes, proofs, and error coins into a cohesive collection increases both aesthetic and financial value. Strategic submission for grading, careful documentation, and thoughtful presentation ensure that coins maintain credibility and maximize market appeal. Over time, a well-curated 1973 cent collection not only preserves a piece of American history but also represents a tangible asset with the potential for long-term appreciation. Collector psychology plays a critical role in the 1973 Lincoln cent market. Buyers are influenced not just by rarity or grade, but by perception, narrative, and visual appeal. For instance, a coin with full red luster and sharp strike communicates quality at a glance and can elicit competitive bidding, even among coins with identical technical grading. Emotional factors, nostalgia, historical connection, and personal significance often drive collector behavior more than objective scarcity. This explains why coins from notable hoards, estate finds, or previously unknown era coins can command premiums well above standard market expectations. Understanding this psychology is crucial for both acquiring and selling coins effectively. Market manipulation myths are rampant in the penny collecting world, particularly regarding sensationalized claims of astronomical values for the 1973 cent claims suggesting single 1973 pennies sold for millions of dollars, while widely circulated online, are entirely unfounded. No verified auction or grading service records support such figures. These myths often originate from clickbait articles, social media posts, or misinterpretations of rare coin sales, like ultra-rare 1943 bronze or prototype cents. Savvy collectors learn to distinguish between credible documentation and hype, using auction results, population reports, and reputable grading certifications to determine realistic value. Believing myths can lead to disappointment, overpayment, or missed opportunities. Anecdotal rare finds highlight the excitement inherent in 1973 cent collecting. Stories abound of estate discoveries yielding pristine uncirculated coins, dramatic off-center strikes, or subtle die crack varieties that went unnoticed for decades. While these discoveries are exceptional rather than common, they illustrate the potential for significant premiums when a coin combines condition, rarity, and visual appeal. Each discovery also reinforces the value of careful inspection, documentation, and grading to ensure that such finds are recognized and authenticated within the market. The interplay between condition and error rarity is central to evaluating market value. High-grade coins without errors can command substantial premiums due to scarcity in upper MS66, MS67 red tiers. Conversely, lower-grade coins with dramatic errors, such as severe off-center strikes or pronounced die cracks, may achieve similar or higher realized values than ordinary uncirculated coins. Collectors must assess both aspects together. A coin with moderate grade but a visually striking error can outperform a higher grade coin with no distinguishing features. This nuanced understanding allows collectors to prioritize acquisitions strategically and avoid overlooking undervalued opportunities. Optimizing auction and private sales requires preparation, presentation, and informed pricing. Coins should be properly stored in archival holders or certified slabs, accompanied by high-resolution images and detailed descriptions of grade, mint mark, color designation, and any errors or provenance. Auction listings benefit from historical context and narrative, highlighting unique aspects such as hoard origin, exceptional strike, or notable toning. For private sales, transparency about certification, population, and condition builds trust with buyers and can command higher prices. Timing is also critical. Coins sold during periods of strong collector interest or numismatic events often achieve better results. For long-term collectors, strategic planning ensures sustainable growth in both value and collection quality. This involves incremental upgrades, replacing lower-grade coins with superior examples, adding visually or historically significant error coins, and incorporating proof specimens. Patience is paramount. The 1973 cent market rewards careful observation, informed acquisition, and consistent documentation over decades. A well-curated collection not only preserves a piece of 1970s American history but also provides tangible financial value and long-term investment potential. In summary, the 1973 Lincoln cent offers a unique combination of accessibility, historical significance, and collectible challenge. Its market value is driven by condition, mint mark, color, error prevalence, provenance, and collector psychology. While sensational myths exaggerate potential worth, a careful approach grounded in population data, grading insights, auction analysis, and strategic acquisition can yield both aesthetic satisfaction and financial reward. By integrating high-grade business strikes, proofs, and errors into a cohesive collection, maintaining rigorous documentation, and understanding market dynamics, collectors can maximize the enjoyment and value of their 1973 cents. This concludes the full deep dive series on the 1973 Lincoln cent. From historical context to grading nuances, error classification, registry strategies, market analysis, and collector psychology, every aspect of this coin has been explored in detail to provide collectors with a comprehensive understanding of its significance, value, and collecting potential.